Hi there, I'm Mary Susie from Bead Me a Story. Thanks so much for joining me today for these Czech Beaded European 4-in-1 earrings. So I have been a longtime bead enthusiast. I love seed beads. They're so much fun. So what the Czechs do that is different from everybody else is they really know how to create some fantastic finishes. So on a couple of these earrings that I made kits with this week, these are etched finished seed beads and they're absolutely gorgeous. But I want to point out too that these are striped seed beads, and I carry all sorts of different stripes. These are small stripes, but I also carry large stripes, some two-tones, and some double stripes. So these come in all sorts of really fun finishes too. So definitely explore our offerings at beadmeastory.com because we have lots of them. And I thought this would be a great project to put out because the Czech seed beads run smaller than Japanese seed beads. So a size 6 Japanese seed bead would be a little bit too large for this project, and you probably couldn't get the jump rings closed. So I thought, well, let me try the size 6 Czech seed bead and see how it works. And I think it works great. It looks ruffly and fun for your earrings. Really like how this turned out. So I hope you will like it too. European 4-in-1 is a skill that every single chainmailer should learn. It's probably the most foundational weave that there is in the chainmail world. You can literally build anything with it. And of course with this, because we're doing kind of a diamond shape here, we're going to learn to increase rows as well as decrease rows back down. So that's going to be really helpful skill to have. You can do that with or without beads. I just thought it would make the earrings really pretty if we included some of these beautiful finishes in the Czech seed bead world. So if you're watching this is of course a free video for everyone. Please be sure to like and follow us on YouTube. You will really be helping our channel out a lot. And then of course, the projects you see here, some of these are made into kits, and you can also find all of these supplies available at beadmeastory.com. Okay, so without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so in order to make this project, you can see I've gone ahead and pre-opened my jump rings. You don't have to pre-open, but I did. I've got some copper, some dragon fruit, and then I have these Czech beads over here that they look like Reiku. They're really, really pretty, so I thought they'd be fun. But I wanted to choose colors were bright enough for you to see well, so that, you know, you can see all the little connections that are happening here. Okay, so first, I'm going to take my first jump ring. I'm going to pick up bead and close the jump ring. Okay, so this is the very bottom of my earring, and I'm going to keep working my way up to the top as I go. So you'll notice that I put the copper out here to the right side first because that is the first color I'm going to use for our first diamond shape. And these first 2 rows, you don't really have to worry too much about where anything's sitting. Okay, and I want to show you that when you use Czech beads, sometimes that one looked like it wasn't going to fit. It actually did fit on, but we are going to run into some that do not fit. Czech beads are not as consistent as Japanese beads. And if you purchase a kit from me, do not worry about that because I planned for it. So if you have to throw some beads off to the side, that's what you got to do. And you can use them in your seed beading with the needle and thread if you want to. Or you can, you know, add them to dangles on pieces that you just want to add a drop to. If you just drop your gauge down lower, or sometimes the jump ring needs to be a larger circumference. Okay, so here is our first 2 rows laid out. So you can see I have the little point at the bottom. So you want to pick a really pretty bead for that one. And then I have a bead on either side. And these beads, I'm going to keep them pushed to the outside. So to start my next row, I am increasing the row. So the next row is going to have 3 jump rings to it. And so the middle jump ring is not going to have a bead on it. And the outside jump rings will have a bead on them. I wanted a prettier bead there. Okay, so when you're picking up chainmail work, I like to put my thumb down on top and then scoop up under it with my other fingers, and then that way I can hold this all in place. So you can see I need to pass through both of these jump rings that sit between the 2 beads. So I have one that's more towards me and one that's more away from me, and I need to pass through both. Okay? And then close. So this is the jump ring in this row that does not have a bead on it. Okay, and I'm going to take my next jump ring. This one will go on the right hand side. And so when I'm out on this side, I'm only going to pass through just this outside right jump ring here. Okay, and notice that this is sliding back behind this middle ring that I just added. So when you do European 4-in-1, each row of it is going to change directions. So in other words, this slid back behind it. Okay, so these are slanted up and to the right, and then the next row will be slanted up and to the left. And you can see that here with row 2, that's slanted up and to the left, this one up and to the right. Okay, and here's my third jump ring for this row. Picked up a bead, and now I'm just going to pass through the far left jump ring of row 2. Okay, and it doesn't matter where my bead is sitting right now. So you notice I picked up my bead before I passed through the work and got ready to close, and that's because when you use beads with chainmail, you usually want to pick it up first, because then where you're holding the jump ring is you're kind of holding the bead on too, because it's sitting below your pliers, and that will keep it from sliding off. Okay, so you can see that my beads now are sitting on the outside, and we're going to keep them out here. So this is kind of sitting up at the top, but it's going to end up sitting right here, and the same thing over here. This is going to be down a little bit. Okay, now this first diamond we're doing, this is our maximum row. Okay, so we're only going to do 3 wide, and now we're going to go back to 2. So the next 2 jump rings that we're going to add are both going to have beads on them, because we're going back to a 2 row, and we need all of our outside rows to have beads on them. Okay, so I'll just pick up my bead. Again, I put my thumb down, I scoop up underneath with my left hand, and now this is going to need to pass through that middle jump ring and the far right jump ring. Okay, and then I'll let my bead kind of slide to the outside. And then got my other jump ring, pick up my bead. And then for this one, we're going to pass through these 2 jump rings here. So the middle and the left side. And we'll close, okay? And that is pretty much it for this diamond. We got 1 more jump ring we're going to add, and that's going to be added to the top. Now, I'm not going to do a bead on this one, because this top point is just going to serve as a connector to the next diamond shape that we're going to make. So I don't want to add a bead, because I'd almost have to add a bead to both sides, and we don't have enough room for that. Okay, and this one can be the trickiest. So, you know, you may need to, one time when I was doing this, one of the pairs of earrings I made, I had to actually go and pick a smaller bead because I just couldn't get these 2 rows to let me get a jump ring through. So this is the only spot in this whole project where you could potentially run into that. And I may be running into it here, so let me see. Just be patient with yourself. It may take a little fiddling to get this one through. Oh, and I got it. Okay. So you can see I had to go through both of those jump rings there to get myself a top point. Unlike the bottom point, this is not going to have a bead on it. Okay. So there is our diamond that's going to be at the bottom of our earrings. Now, the next color I'm going to bring in is the dragon fruit. And this is pretty much going to start the same way as the last one that we did. The only difference is this bottom jump ring, because it's behaving as a connector to this bottom diamond, is not going to have a bead on it. I'm going to skip that, and I'm just going to pass through this jump ring that I just added. Okay, so this is row 1 of our second diamond. Okay, and then the next row, of course, is going to have, just like down here, it's going to have a bead on each of these. So I'll set those out here. And just like before, when we do the second row, you do not have to worry about where the beads are sitting. You're just going to connect to the top of this jump ring. We'll situate it all once we get both jump rings in place. Okay. And there we go. So these will naturally, remember how I said, you know, up and to the left? So these naturally kind of, when you lay them out and you lay everything flat, they're going to naturally give you this up and to the left on this second row. So that should be all set for you. And then we are going to add the next row. Now the next row is going to have 3, just like before. And the middle jump ring is not going to have anything on it. Just the outside 2 jump rings will have something. I like this one better. It's a little bead, but I love when I get that coppery, shiny thing going on with these etched beads. I like to bring in as much color as possible. Okay, so our first jump ring is going to pass through both of these jump rings. Okay, we're doing an increasing row here. So this has nothing on it. Okay, and now we'll add the next rows. And just like before, when I add this one to the right, it's going to tuck underneath the jump ring that I just added. Okay, so that it's tilted up and to the right in this row. Okay, so I've kind of put that in just on the right jump ring. I'm only passing through the right jump ring there, but it's sliding back behind that middle jump ring that I added. Okay, and then this third one, which I'm adding to the left, is going to be sitting in front. Okay, but I'm going to pick up my bead first, and then I'm going to slide through just that jump ring on the left. Only 1 jump ring, not 2. Okay, and that is row 3 finished. Okay, and then you see, you know, pretty naturally the beads just slide to the outside, which is where we want them. Now, in the last diamond that we didn't do a 4-row, and this time we're going to. So this row is going to have 2 jump rings that do not have beads. Okay, and then we'll add 2 more jump rings that do have beads. Okay, so we'll just leave these 2 for later. And I'm going to pick up my first jump ring. And I want to make sure everything's laying flat and where it should be. So this first jump ring is going to pass through jump ring 2 and 3. And then the next one's going to pass through jump rings 1 and 2. So I'm going to go through jump ring 2 and 3 first. Okay. Then I'm just picking up my next jump ring. And passing through jump rings 1 and 2. Okay. And you can see that this is going to make this row get bigger. So now this outside jump ring on the right is only going to pass through just this jump ring on the right. And the jump ring that goes on the left is only going to pass through the jump ring that has the bead, the first jump ring in the previous row. Okay, and you can see this row is tilting up and to the left. So this was kind of the opposite, where the bead looked like it was on the inside as I was placing it in. But you can see this just rolls right around to go to the outside. No problem. And that was on top. Okay, so you can see these are kind of like a stair step, going from the bottom and up and up. And then we're going to do our 4th jump ring of this row, and this one's going to sit back behind it. So just like I just said, the stair steps are going up and to the right. So I'm going to slide this back behind the row so that the left hand jump ring that I'm added is the lowest jump ring of that row. Okay, and there is our 4 rows. I can get this guy tilted around. There we go. So, you know, you can see you may have to, you know, situate things. Take a look at what you've got going on before you start the next row. In our next row, we're going to go back down to 3 rows again. So we're at the very outside point of our diamond, and now we want to start bringing things back in again. So once again, we're going to have beads on these 2 outside, and so we're using 3 jump rings. Last row used 4, now we're going back down to 3. So this 1 jump ring in the middle that doesn't have any beads is going to pass through jump rings 3 and 2. Okay, and then we'll just attach the outside jump rings through 4 and 3 and 1 and 2. Okay, so we got that one. And I'll do my right hand side. So just by the way, you could be doing this from left to right. It really doesn't matter. I'm right-handed, so that's what seems natural to me, but you can do this any way that you would like to. Okay, so again, I'm going through And let me lay this down. I just want to make sure I have this right. Everything kind of got out of position as I was doing that. So I just want to make sure that as I pass through jump rings 4 and 3, that I am passing through in the right direction. Okay, and see how that tucked back behind the jump ring that I just put in the middle. Okay. And then this is our third jump ring of this row. So the last one, this is going to go on the outside. So we're going to go through jump ring 2 and 1 in that order. And this is going to sit above the jump ring that doesn't have a bead. So coming in from the front, and it looks like our bead is not sitting in the right location. But again, once I close this jump ring, this is just going to flip out to the outside. And it'll be in the right location. Okay, so that's 3. Now we just got 2 and 1 to go. Okay, so since there's only 2 jump rings in this next row, you can see that I have a bead ready to go for each of them. Oops. Have to pick up the bead. Won't get on there if I don't. Okay, so this first one's going to go through the second and the third jump rings of that row. Okay, and then my final jump ring of this row, since it only has 2, I'm going to pick up this jump ring. And this is going to go through 1 and 2. So if I go in that direction, 1 and 2, it slides this jump ring back behind the other one that I just added. Okay, and then we are almost done. We have 1 jump ring left to go. So here's my ear wire. Okay, and you'll notice that there's a big gap right here. So we need to close this before we start, unless you want to slide it on later, but I like to do it now. Okay, so you can either do one of 2 things. You can either just bend this back, or what I like to do is, just like with the jump ring, I like to kind of open it to the side and then push it back. It seems to be the easiest way to bend that and make sure that it's meeting up beautifully with the base of the ear wire so that you have a good closure to that. Okay, and then I'm going to take my final jump ring, and this is going to split these 2 top jump rings in half. Okay, and we're just going to pass through there and then just simply slide it through the loop of the ear wire. And that is that. So we have 1 earring. We need to do all these steps over again to have a second earring, but I'll just show you how cute these turn out. Okay, and because of how the beads sit back and front, back and front, back and front, makes these look a little bit more ruffly and random than you might think. And I like, I could use matte jump rings in the centers here, but I really like when I use the shiny colors, because it definitely, you know, with the etched beads on the outside, or even the opaque beads that I have, kind of makes the center part, the shiny, really look more shiny, and then you get all the cool effects from the beads on the outside. Okay, so I hope you've enjoyed this project. This is a lot of fun to do. This is a skill that everyone should definitely master, is doing increasing and decreasing rows of European 4-in-1, because there's all sorts of shapes that you can achieve, and this will just help you solidify in your mind a little bit better how this weave works together. And so I hope you'll give it a try, and I hope I'll see you next time. Be sure to like and follow us on YouTube. And of course, there are kits for this, as well as supplies to make this project at beadmeastory.com. Thanks so much, and have a great day.